please, Errol. Greetings, family. We are live and direct. Sister Shanice Show, getting ready to bring you another very interesting discussion today. And as you can see, we've got Dr. Abu in the house. Rise up, Dr. Abu.
Good
How are you
Empress,
doing?
good to all. Well, I give thanks all the time for life. I give thanks for life.
Oh, good to see you in the house. We have Sister Brenda with us backstage, but I think internet connection. Hopefully, it wasn't a power outage. She will be back with us again very shortly. We've got Brother Kwame Gonza that's going to be joining us. We've got Brother Jammers that's going to be joining us. And of course, we've got you, our audience, that's going to be joining us today. And looking forward to another very educative discussion. Dr. Abu, wow. I'm on the continent, but even though I am, from what I'm hearing, the news of the verdict regarding the murder of George Floyd has just taken over the international headlines. What are your initial thoughts on the trial and the verdict in relation to that case?
Well, as I said, if a dog bite you, you don't really did I beat up the dog. You're going to see the owner of the dog. You understand? You know, white these white policemen are coming from the whole slave catching mentality. You know, see it. And I always said, white people always think that we have tail. That's why they want to take off our clothes. You understand? Because that was in their book. That's in their history book. You understand? You know, and it will happen again because what they call the constitution of the country never written for African people. Neither where we are never built for him for us. So we have to just know says we have to do for ourselves. You know, these things is like a soap opera. You know, see it. You know, we'd have a big one from the OJ one. Everyone has tried tap that. You know, so we have to understand how white privilege work. They make you feel that you have something, but tell me, Aya, you have nothing. You understand? Until we can become judge and jury over these white policemen, you don't have justice. Young lava loads of just shit. Simple as that.
Hear you on that, Dr. Abu. Until we can become judge and jury, yes, in the hearings of these matters, absolutely agree. Otherwise, it's really just a theatrical stage show. And with this particular case, the whole world was watching on, and they needed to come to that decision. Otherwise, America would have been on fire. Oh no, from yesterday, America would have been burning had they not come with that decision. So I actually feel as though, they had their arm right up their back with this one. As we can see, we've got our brother Kwame in the house. Rise up, brother Kwame, and
Rise up.
welcome to the Sister
Thank you.
Show.
Thank you so much. Rise up, Sister Shanice. Rise up, Dr. Abu.
Yeah, man.
How have you been?
My friend, man.
Oh, we are doing great. We are doing great. We are moving forward. Yes. So we are not complaining so far.
So what has been the big news headline for you in Ghana, where you are right now, my brother?
A lot of things have been going on. We can see in the country that the COVID numbers have reduced, and the president recently also he launched a factory for manufacturing steel in Ghana here, an $80 million factory. The only problem which we the factory is called B5. It is going to convert some of the raw materials to raw steel and other steel materials which can be used in building and all that stuff, which is a good thing.
Good.
The only problem is that the factory is owned by Indians, who most of the times have been bringing their people from India, from the managers, the sales managers, and supervisors, and all those, and the Africans only do the work of carrying things and labor work, manual work, which is kind of a problem. As we Pan-Africanists, for example, such a thing, we don't look at it as good. That model of economic development is not the best. It's not really what we should be welcoming. That model of economic development is not the model which our ancestors, for example, envisioned. We would like foreign investment to come, but that foreign investment should be beneficial to our people. It should not be a foreign investment which comes into rather continue the enslavement of our people and give them peanuts, you see, give them slave labor. So this is the type of foreign investment that has been going on in Africa right now under this dispensation of neoliberalism. Today's foreign investment, what they call foreign investment, it has come to Africa instead to rob Africa. Because when we look at the figure of what they have been calling the illicit financial outflow of Africa, it has been the illicit financial outflow from Africa, which is around 200 billion every year. That is money that is going out of Africa, has been facilitated by this so-called foreign investment. Because these guys, they come in as foreign investors. For example, they invest in mines, gold, and they ship out a lot of money, and they give our people peanuts, or they pay off a few people who they collaborate with to work with, or maybe what the African socialists or the scientific socialists will call the bourgeois, the African. So they pay off those people, that class of people, and then they take away the resources that are supposed to benefit the many. So that is the only tragedy which is affecting. And then we had another situation in Uganda where I think about this week, the pipeline, the oil pipeline which will take oil from Western Uganda through Tanzania up at the port of Tanga, which President Magufuli left. He was working on. That oil pipeline was signed last week. President Suhulu of Tanzania was in Uganda, and they signed off that pipeline, which is being worked. Yes, which is being worked on with Total and Sinok and the governments of Uganda and Tanzania. The only challenge is that that pipeline that is what the oil companies had envisioned originally. And the president in Uganda insisted that we should have an oil refinery before we take out any oil from the country. And the oil companies were fighting against the oil refinery because they just want to take out raw materials, as is their norm, as is their normal way of doing things, because they want to continue to rob Africa through the raw materials. So the president wanted to put a refinery so that we can be able to refine some of the oil and use it, because Africa doesn't have a refinery. All of East Africa, we don't have an oil refinery. Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, all these countries don't have a single oil refinery. DRC, Southern Sudan, all that part, there is no oil refinery there. So the refinery of 40,000 barrels per day refinery would have been a good thing. But it looks like these people may be able to overpower the government of Uganda because of the decline in the oil prices. The transition which is going on currently, whereby the world is transitioning from renewable, from non-renewable energy sources of energy to renewable sources of energy. So this has brought the barrel, the price per barrel of oil down. So they use this now. They are using this as an excuse. So Uganda or East Africa will not be able to get its oil refinery, which is a very bad thing. And the oil companies, Total of France and Sinopec of China, may end up winning. May end up getting what they wanted. But the Uganda government was trying to drive a hard bargain in that area. So that is generally what is going on. And yeah, and then we are hearing of the other wars, which are the Islamist terrorists who are intensifying their attacks in Mozambique, which is very unfortunate. Also, that started,
Yes,
and then
we can only talk all of that. I mean, you've covered a lot there already in your opening, Brother Kwame, going right into the conversation that we're going to be having today. Let's get some feedback on what you've talked about so far. One of our guests today is actually from Uganda. She was with us backstage a little while ago, but unfortunately dropped out, but we're hoping that she'll be able to come back, and then she'll be able to comment on, some of what you was talking about there, about the oil deals that are going on and the discussions around that in Uganda. But Dr. Abu,
that is
Brother
great. She's a
Kwame,
very good friend of mine.
yes.
She's a very, very good friend of mine.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, Dr. Abu. Brother Young Kwame Konza has said quite a lot there in his opening. Any comments on any of the issues that he's raised there from you?
Well, he talk about the river, but he said we have to look at the spring. And all the problems spring from where we are in the UK here. This is the cause. What you're having down there is thing called a colonial domino. So what they're doing, they're using the Chinese and the Indian, because the Chinese and the Indian is in the Premier League of the colonial, because they're all colony. We have to, you see, we don't understand what we're playing, you understand? And because we don't understand what we're playing, we play right into it. Some of us are here in the UK and we don't even know what to do, because the things that we are doing the very things that they certify us to do. You understand? We're talking about the cause. You remember I was talking about the cause and the because. Lot of us become the because we yawn for white privilege, and we don't give a damn about the other rest of our people. It's long time gone. I've been giving away the nation wealth. It's a habit. It's an addiction of Ghanaian government from way back. It's an addiction because the majority of Ghanaian government yearn for white privilege, yearn to live like European. You understand? They may not want to eat the same food as them, but they want to speak like them. And sometimes they even as far as come out of their own dress to dress like them. You understand? And these are the things, it's not Ghana alone, but as I said, there's a colonial domino playing. You understand? And who is in the league at this moment? You understand? It's who is in the league at this moment, because these people play on their asset. Right now, Ghana can't refuse America, because Ghana have one of America's largest asset down there. It called evangelism. If you don't understand, that's the same thing. That's the same thing they use and destroy in the Michael Manley government in Jamaica in the 70s. You understand? So if you don't understand certain things, as I said, we have to invest in our young people. You understand? Because in our young people is the strength and the change. A lot of the elders them today, they yearn for white privilege. You understand? And we have to be careful about that. Vodum.
Vudum, rise up, Dr. Abu. I'll come back to what's been said so far. But first of all, let's greet some of our viewers today. Welcome. Let's go over to the chat and see who we've got in the house. Family, let us know where you're viewing from. Where in the world are you at the moment? Let us know. Let's big you up. So yeah, do comment in the chat. So we want to rise up Najar saying greetings, Sister Shanice. Also rising up Lioness saying peace, family. And yes, let's welcome Humble from the Gambia. Also Lioness is saying facts. So that's when someone was talking there, and she's saying, where is my pen and my book, because my teachers are here. Fantastic. And Audrey McLean, welcome, saying peace, love and light, family. Stolen Earth is saying greetings. Oh, Sister Afrijamo is in the house saying greetings, Sister Shanice, Dr. Abu and Kwame Gonza, all my real African brothers and sisters worldwide watching from Ghana. Hey, rise up, Sister Afrijamo. Also Lioness, rise up yourself. Jaglenda, rise up yourself, my sis. Kimani, welcome. Najar, saying we used to have a refinery in Mombasa. Okay, good to know that. And rising up, Happy Companion, saying rise up. Also rising up, Jamie, Happy Companion, welcome back to the Gambia. How was Nigeria? Hey, and our Queen Najar is tuned in from Kenya. Brilliant. And we've got Good in Me 31 saying good afternoon to the kings and queens all the way from New York City. And we've got Jamie in the house from California. Wonderful. Oh, we welcome you, global family. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, to have you all in the house. Thank you, Afrijamo, for reminding everyone to give us a thumbs up. We've got 80 watching, but only 26 likes. Come on, family, give us some likes. Hey, come on now. On your way in, please just give us a thumbs up. And Maxine Grant is in the house, watching us from London, saying, Vudum, still waiting for the Vudum t-shirts. Hey, I know our brother Dr. Abu's working on it. Rise up, Jamie. Okay, thank you, family. Do continue to interact with us via the chat. Comment on, what we're saying. Let us know what your views and opinions are, what your perspectives are on issues, and we will bring your comments into the discussion as well. And we've got Marcia here who's saying, evening family, rise up. I have apportioned your UKKK, Sister Shanice. Hope you don't mind. Appropriated it. Don't mind at all. And Afrijamos looking out for the Vudum t-shirts as well, saying it's a must. So, hey, Jambari, Zajoni, everyone. Hey, I like that. Jambari, yes, please do greet us in your language, each and every one of you. Jambari Jazoni, love it, absolutely love it. What language is that, Brother Kwame? What language is it?
It's Kiswahili. Good evening.
Jabari Jazoni, yeah, good evening back at you. Yeah, Brother Kwame, I mean, in your opening remarks there, you raised quite a lot, and, all of what you were saying there just really touched my heart. When you were talking about, the so-called investors, it's just, a name given to modern day pirates, as far as I'm concerned. It's a kind of classy name, isn't it? To describe modern day thieves, modern day crooks, modern day criminals who, are coming to the country off of the back of some sort of, really unfair agreement agreement that's been worked out between, two governments that allows these crooks to come in and basically help themselves to the assets of the country. I don't know what's happened to our young Kwame there, but we'll bring him back as soon as he returns. So, it's modern day piracy as far as I'm concerned. But today, instead of the pirates coming in with a patch over their eye, they're coming in a three-piece suit and calling themselves investors. And that's what's going on. And, to make it worse, they're coming in in their three-piece suits, and they're supposedly coming to set up, a factory or a refinery or something that they think that the country actually needs. And at the same time, instead of creating jobs and opportunities for the people in the country, and to have a deal where these modern pirates are training up the local people to take over the factories, to run the refineries or something, they're coming in, bringing their own workforce, employing just a few local people in menial positions, so they'll never be in a position to actually take over the running of that refinery or take over the running of that factory on their own, which means that when they pull out, the whole thing collapses. So it's just part of their agenda to keep total control over the economics of that particular country, and to keep control of the assets and to keep control of everything. And we've got to break that cycle. We've got to break the cycle, and we've got to be saying to these so-called investors in the agreements, if you're coming into our country, then we need to have a percentage of the profits. We need to have a percentage of our people working in all the positions within that company, from the senior management right down to the bottom. We need to have, a proportion of our people within our country as trainees within your organization. And we need to ensure as well that they are getting a fair pay. And if you can't accept these terms and conditions of our agreement, then it's no deal. We'll move on to the next so-called investor. Thank you very, very much. We've really got to start laying down, firm terms and conditions. So that's what I've got to say in terms of these so-called, modern day pirates that are calling themselves investors and coming into the country. And, with regards to the oil refinery as well, and, what's happening with the pipeline there, we're going to go into that a bit more, because wherever there's oil, there are militia groups, there's war, there's destabilization, and we can see that happening all the way down the Horn of Africa, right across the coastal area there, where they've got these new oil blocks. And of course, again, another example of where they want to keep the technology for themselves. So they're not coming to bring any technological development into Africa, and this is what Africa has been complaining about. This is why Africa has moved away from doing deals with America and moved away from doing deals with Europe, because they want to keep the technology to themselves. They don't want to share in the profits. They don't want to bring any infrastructural development to Africa. They just want to take. That's why some of these African governments were moving towards Chinese so-called investors, who also obviously have a long-term colonization agenda as well. But, along the way are giving something a bit more than the Europeans have been giving in return. And, here we have huge anti-Chinese propaganda campaign led by undercover European CIA and all the rest of it, to try and dissuade Africa from doing deals with China, and the Europeans coming back in through the back door and still not wanting to offer any decent deals or agreements that's going to be mutually beneficial. So, we really have to continue to watch this space with this one. Let's see what people have got to say in the chat so far. Okay, looks like conversations are going on, people sharing their WhatsApp numbers. Cheryl is saying indeed, sis, and saying yes. And the judge head is saying correct, Sister Shanice, resource rapers. Yes, indeed. Rise up, Cheryl, as well. So, and Stolenov saying that's right. We've got to start having deals that are mutually beneficial, deals that are going to benefit the population as well as the so-called investors. But let's not kid ourselves about these corporations coming in, being investors. They're not investors. Investors are ones who come to invest in the country. They're not coming to invest, they're coming to take. And that has been the pattern throughout. Okay, we've only got 42 likes so far, Sister Amo is telling us we've got 102 people watching. Come on, family. For those of you who have yet to give us a like, over 60 of you, please do. Dr. Abu, let me bring you back in for any more remarks at this stage. I'm still waiting for our sis to rejoin us before we go into the main topic of conversation. But the fact that she hasn't come back is signaling a bit of a problem. Let me check my WhatsApp and see if I can find out what happened. Dr. Abu, investors. What are your thoughts about these so-called investors in Africa?
Well, you have to look and see who the investors is talking to. I bet you those questions that you raised, you know, many of the people who ask those questions in Ghana right now, I bet you them in jail. How many activists have been locked up in the prison in Ghana? People that is talking for the rights of the people. You know, that is what we are not looking at. The government of Ghana will not ask those questions or even put those things into place, because the government of Ghana is not there for the people, blood. They're there for the corporation. You understand? They're there for the corporation, and what they're doing to you, as I said, are doing to our African people is playing a game of colonial dominoes.
Were you watching Islamic channels?
You understand? So if we don't understand military science, you know, we'll get confused in our political science because they make a political prostitute out of us. And that is what's happening to our so-called leader. They become political prostitutes.
Fudum, Dr. Abu. We need to understand military science indeed. We're going to be touching on that quite a bit today as well. Let's see what some of the comments are. We've got, if they're not willing to employ local people in large numbers, then the government should tax them heavily. Absolutely agree with that one, Brother Anthony. Brother Kwame Kwanzaa, what say you to this comment? Agree, we have to do for self, keep it on the lowdown. The time is now. Agree with that one as well. Or stop dealing with them altogether. That's the MAGA fully approach. We don't need to be dealing with them. Africa needs us. We don't need Africa. Sorry, we don't need Africa. We don't need the rest of the world. The rest of the world needs Africa. Let's get it the right way around. Absolutely. What have we got here? Investors are, let's see this one here. Investors are divestors. Capitalism is not we and never will be we. Rise up, Kimani, for that one as well. Okay. There's having a conversation in here about WhatsApp. A lot of people are saying, staying on WhatsApp, is it dangerous? Well, I'll be leaving WhatsApp before the deadline, which I think is about the 15th of May, going over to Telegram. That's my decision. Definitely going to be leaving WhatsApp, and I think my phone will be relieved as well because more time it just full up for everything from WhatsApp. Okay, it looks as though my sister is experienced some difficulty trying to log back in. It could be that she's had a power outage where she is. So, you know, we will be going into the topic for conversation now. And the title of today's topic is The Politics of War African militia groups, and the threat to national security, land and safety. This is a huge topic indeed, and something that, you know, we ought to be talking about as a people. And it's such a shame that our sister-in's not here. She was going to be focusing on Congo for us, but hopefully, you know, if it is a power outage, that she will be back with us before the end of the show today. And if I disappear because we have a power outage here, please do just continue without me. So we need to be developing these discussions on our international platforms. You know, we need to be looking at what's impacting on us as Africans and what's happening on the continent as well, our motherland. And, you know, on these shows, we look at the issues that's impacting on us from a number of different perspectives. And, you know, today we're looking at the fact that there are a multiplicity of foreign interests in African mineral resources, as we know, and its wealth. And what's also quite troubling and happening right now that we're seeing is an increase in military bases on the African soil. And that is a threat in itself, because these increases in military bases bring with it, you know, the potential reemergence of Cold Wars, civil wars, and what we're already seeing is millions and millions of our people being displaced on the continent as a result of militia group activity. Our sister, when she comes, she's going to focus on the Republic of Congo, you know, and what's widely, you know, almost accepted now, she was saying, as the norm, because as we know, the Congo is widely considered to be one of the richest countries in the world in terms of natural resources. It has, you know, so much untapped deposits of raw material. We can't even estimate really the extent of the mineral wealth that exists in that country. And it's got a population of 86 million people, but the amount of you know, militia group activity that's happening in that area is so concerning, very concerning indeed. And what tends to go hand in hand is, you know, war, militia group activities, secret service operations, you know, where there is wealth. So let me just, by way of introduction, mention that overseas military bases of the United Kingdom, for example, armed forces, they have a large presence in Africa as well. And they claim to have these overseas military bases for expediency in case of warfare. So in the event that, you know, they need to move in to protect what they call their interests in a particular country, they've got their bases already strategically located in areas where they can just move straight in. They claim that initially they will deal with issues diplomatically. Please put your phone on mute. I don't know where I'm getting background noise coming in from, but yeah, please mute your site. Thank you. And, you know, right now, the British military troops are actually stationed in 145 overseas military bases. And these are located in 42 countries, 145 military bases in 42 countries, and 60 bases of those are actually run directly by British armed forces. So some of these armed forces that we're actually seeing on the continent, you know, are actually being run from here in the UKKK. You know, and I don't know the extent to which, you know, the ordinary population is aware of this. So we wanted to flag this up. 145 overseas military bases. And that's just Britain alone. Yeah, and British military operations, it says here, relies strategically on, you know, their armies being in a position to protect their interests. And what's this quote from this journalist here? He says, not a year has passed. This is John Pilger. He says, not a year has passed since peace was declared in 1945 that Britain has not sent military forces to fight the wars of empire. Not a year has passed when countries, mostly poor and riven in conflict, have not bought or have been soft-loaned British arms to further wars or interests of the empire. So, you know, when they're out there fighting these wars, when they're out there in these military stations, they're actually looking to further their empire. And what we've been seeing is a spread of foreign military forces across the continent. Now, there was a recent report that was talking about a covert operation, paramilitary operation happening in Kenya. And apparently, you know, the media reports was claiming that this covert Kenyan paramilitary team was responsible for the unconstitutional killing of terror suspects in nighttime raids. Reports are based on interviews with US and Kenyan diplomatic and intelligence officials. The teams was trained, armed and supported by US and British intelligence officers. This is giving you an indication of some of the operations that's going on the ground, you know, in Africa. So, you know, we talked about, for example, UK military bases right across the continent and in all these different countries. But what's also happening is that the training is going on, and they're training militia groups, there's secret, you know, terror operations going on. And it's not unique to just army personnel fighting other army personnel. Civilians get caught up in all of this, and it's been going on for decades. And so the issue of increased army activity across the continent is a major cause of concern. I see Kwame's back. Let's bring him back. But first, let's bring in Dr. Abu. Dr. Abu, I mean, these statistics are awful. I mean, what say you? Sorry, unmute yourself, please, Dr. Abu.
I was saying, let the young blood have a go. Let Kwame speak.
Right, okay, fine. Brother Kwame, come in.
Thank you very much, Sister Shanice. Thank you, Dr. Abu. When I was doing my introduction, I did not greet the viewers, our audience, the people who are watching us. And I want to thank everyone who is watching and who is supporting Sister Shanice in these programs. And I want to thank Sister Shanice yourself for coming out to teach our people and always inviting the people who have the knowledge on our continent, the people who love our continent, to always bring about these discussions, to discuss about our people and our continent. So I'd like to appreciate the people who are watching and appreciate you yourself for this a good job which you are doing non-stop, always. When we look at our continent and the situation in which it is, we should not, I think, separate it from what is happening to our people. For example, when we talk of the killing of George Floyd or the killing of the other, you know, people who are being killed in the streets of the United States, in Chicago and everywhere. This is a deliberate effort by capitalists, or you may call it the Europeans, the imperialists and the neo-colonialists, to keep dominating the African people and keep them down. So the rise of Africa in itself is the one which will facilitate the dignity and the respect of the Black people all around the world. We know this. And so the way to keep other people dominated, all people of African descent, is to keep Africa under domination. We have so far around 29 military bases on the African continent. And that includes in countries like, for example, South Africa. We have countries like Kenya, Niger, even Chad itself, Ghana, a lot of countries, around, if you count on the official United States, website, United States military website, you see around 29 military bases. But some people even suggest that those military bases, they will go up to 40 because some of them are not declared. And the biggest military base is in is the one which we have in is it Eritrea? Is it the one which is called the Camp Lamoa in the north, where there is also a Chinese military base? So these military bases, actually, contrary to what people say that they are there to bring about, they are there to bring about security and fight terrorism. They are there to do a very, very sinister job of destabilizing the continent and keep the continent dominated. We have had this interference in the affairs of how Africa should function or how Africa should operate since independence, when we go back to the Democratic Republic of Congo. The overthrow and killing of the prime minister, the first prime minister there, Patrice Lumumba, which was a very, very tragic, it was a very tragic occurrence. It led to the continued domination, and like you said, that everywhere where there is a lot of minerals, where there is oil, where there is gold, these people, when they want it, they cause chaos there. And to quote George W. Bush in one of his statements, what he said that the United States gets its resources from unstable parts of the world. You see, so they want to keep these parts unstable so that they can take out the resources. People will not be working, people will not be stable and use these resources to work and build the continent. We can see what is happening in the northern part of Africa now. The moment they remove the President Gaddafi there, then a lot of chaos now in Libya. We don't know when Libya will be able to stabilize. We can talk of Somalia. And let me first go to Somalia even before I come to start touching on Libya. When you go to Somalia, the United States is the one which started the war in Somalia in the 1990s, 1993. They went and overthrew the government there. So when they overthrew the government, because they want to control the ports around Somalia, they want to control the resources in Somalia, gold. They want to control the gold and the oil, because Somalia also has a lot of oil. It has a lot of gold. So they want to control also the coastline, the fishing around Somalia, or because Somalia has a very big coastline at the top there, the Gulf of Eden. So they want to control that part so that the ships can pass through, which are coming from Asia all the way going, Middle East and going through to Europe. So they don't want Somalia to tax them. So they keep these places unstable in such a way that people do not build up, and use these resources and benefit themselves or benefit Africa. Now, when we go to Libya, it's the same situation which we have there. The destabilization of Libya, what it brought, and some of these African presidents actually participated in destabilizing Libya. People like President Museveni, they were just sitting down, people like Zuma, who was the president that time in South Africa, people like Goodluck Jonathan, these are people who authorized and they participated in the resolution of putting a no-fly zone on Libya. It's South Africa and Nigeria. I will not pin out the countries themselves, but I'll pin out the presidents. President Zuma and President Goodluck Jonathan of Libya. I mean, of Nigeria, who was the president that time. So they also participated in the authorization of the UN resolution for putting a no-fly zone on Libya. Now, look at the chaos which was unleashed in Libya. This chaos brought about the Islamic militants who are in the Middle East, who are engineered from Iraq, Syria to enter all the way to Libya, because now we lost a president there who's functional, who's President, President Gaddafi. They entered Libya, they went all the way now Burkina Faso. Now we are hearing, we don't know how they went all the way through. Now we are hearing them, they are in Mozambique, which is very tragic, very, very tragic. So this is what we always say as Pan-Africanists, that it is very tragic and it is a big mistake for someone to think that you are in Kenya or you are in Uganda, the issues which are happening in Mali, they don't concern you. The issues which are happening in Libya, they don't concern you. And especially the young people, they are the ones who I would like to call upon. You have to be very concerned about what is happening on our continent. When people are suffering in Somalia, because you are sitting in Ghana, it doesn't mean that these things, they don't concern you. Case in study, or an example is what I've just mentioned, that the rebels were unleashed from Libya, the Islamic militants. Now they are in Mozambique. Who could have thought that these rebels, Islamic militants, will move all the way from the Middle East? They go to Libya. Now they are in Mozambique, tormenting people there in Mozambique. But how do we summarize all this? How do we, when we look at it, how do we contextualize this? Definitely, it is the struggle for the resources and the reset which has been going on. I think my sister Brenda will shed, will shed some light on it. Will point some light on it. But it is the resources. We have seen China has been coming in, to help Africa in some way. In some way, I will not say China is the best thing that will ever happen to Africa or that has ever happened to Africa. But I would like to say also that China is the best thing that has happened to Africa for the last 30 years. So I want to repeat that statement. China is not the best thing that has ever happened to Africa or will ever happen to Africa. But China is the best thing that has happened to Africa in the last 30 years. Why? Because of the help in infrastructure which has been built and the loans that have been given. I know there's a lot of controversy around the loans which China has been giving Africa, but those loans have helped us to, to build up some infrastructure because of the unfriendly loans which the IMF has been giving. We all know the loans which the Europeans have been giving us. They have been for impoverishing, even not building infrastructure, but rather their loans have been helping them to take away our resources and we remain with nothing, nothing. Their tactics is for us to remain with nothing. The Europeans and the Americans, that group, Australia, Canada, their tactics is for us to remain with nothing while they take everything. So this is where China has been beating them. Now, because of these loans which China has been giving Africa, and there has been some development. When you look at the data right now, even the IMF data, they will tell you that the 10 of the fastest growing economies are in Africa. Economic development, the fastest growing economies are in Africa. The economic development comes about because of infrastructure. The development comes about because of investment in infrastructure. We have seen what is happening, what was happening in Tanzania, railways, roads, these things, electricity, energy, agriculture. When you invest in these things, then definitely you are going to spur economic development. So this is what China, in its unfavorable terms, which we may call the terms which it has been giving Africa, but which terms are better than the Western world, their institution, the IMF. There, it has created some sort of jealousy, you see. So this is the competition which has risen, and this competition has
our brother Kwame has frozen my end. He'll be back with us in a short while. He was in full flow there, but we will bring him back. But let me use this opportunity to welcome Brenda. to the panel. Welcome, Brenda. We lost you for a little while, but so glad to have you back. Please, and also, Jammers, great to have you join the panel as well. Let me have some opening remarks from our sister Brenda, and then we'll go over to Brother Jammers. And then we'll go back to you, Sister Brenda, for some more comments on the topic, if Brother Kwame doesn't come back before then. Welcome, Sister Brenda.
Thank you so much, Sister Shanice, and the good work you're doing for our people, for Africans and Africans in the diaspora. I commend the job you're doing. It's really great. So I would like to also thank the people on the panel and the great ideas they are bringing forth. My name is Brenda. I'm from Uganda, East Africa. And I'm also a concerned African about everything that's happening. Being on the continent, I see a lot. And I realize there's just enough knowledge before our eyes that we should take to everyone, to those who don't know, to the young, to those who are disconnected from the continent, because this is the knowledge we need for us to shape the people who will lead Africa. At this very moment, we know that the problem that we are having as Africans is leaders that we never raised, leaders we never groomed, leaders we never taught. So the most important thing in this age is that we embark on re-educating and Africanizing our people. I thank you so much, and everyone who is on the panel, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, Brother Jammers has returned. Welcome, Black Brother Jammers. Please take your phone off mute. Introduce yourself to the family.
It's from at the moment.
Brother Jammers. Oh, we've lost Brother Jammers there. Okay, but we've got Brother Kwame back. Welcome, Black Brother Kwame. Sister Brenda, thank you so much, for your kind opening remarks there. You are a woman of action. You are a woman who has been doing so much as well. We've started talking about the topic today. Can everyone put their phone on mute, please? We're getting some squeaky feedback coming through. Yeah, we've started going into topic. We've started looking at someone's microphone's pitching. Can you put your listening device, your device on mute, please? Brother Kwame, please mute. Dr. Abu, please mute. Sister Brenda. Oh, we've got Brother Jammers back. Welcome back, Brother Jammers.
Greetings, family. I don't know what happened there. My screen froze. But I'm glad to be black with you, and the panel as well. Dr. Abu, Kwame, Brenda, and all the family on the live text. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to what's going to transpire in relation to what we're talking about. And I'll be talking about the mental side on our mind, because this is the war on our mind. So I'll be touching on that side as well. Thank you.
Rise up, Brother Jammers. Definitely looking forward to that. Sister Brenda, we were talking about the spread of military forces and military activity across Africa. We were talking about, the covert operations. We just touched on the covert operations that's been happening in Kenya, that's been reported on. We were talking about the size and the scale and the number of foreign military bases across the continent. Just the UK alone, we were highlighting, have, over, where's those figures gone again? But, they have 145 overseas military bases located across 42 countries. And 60 of those bases are actually run directly by the British Armed Forces. And we are seeing an increase in the level of militia group activity happening across the continent, especially the Horn of Africa, as Brother Kwame Konza was highlighting, from Somalia, coming down into Kenya, coming down into, not so much Tanzania, but Mozambique, and all the places where they've got their oil refineries as well. very, very concerning developments. And we also touched on the Congo as well, which is we highlighted is the richest piece of real estate in the whole of Africa. And, you know, this country has been riddled with war, you know, for over a decade now. My sis, you're very close to what's going on in the Congo. I wonder if you can enlighten us a bit more and share with us your views and perspective of what's going on in terms of the militarization of activities in the Congo region, please.
Thank you so much. So I would first like to note that everything we see on the African continent regarding militarization is so much connected to neocolonialism, imperialism, and slavery. This is to only say that everything that the West was doing in Africa very many decades ago never stopped. It just resurfaced in sophisticated ways, and it's actually stronger than you can think, because most of the people don't see it that way. And for them, that's a win, because very many people are blind, so they will not take the right steps to combating that. So I live in Uganda, and we are neighboring the Congo. I actually live in the western part of Uganda, and the Congo is just like next door. So what we see before we even go to Congo is you meet refugees in Uganda. These refugees do not have so much. They don't get much help. They don't get much help from the government. Sometimes they don't get any at all. So the situation is very bad to the extent that the people in Uganda do not realize that Uganda is also part and parcel of the problem of Congo, because there's an occupation of Uganda, Rwanda, and the other neighboring countries. But all these countries neighboring Congo are also working and backed by Western governments, the American government. So you would want to ask, who actually is the enemy? Who is the enemy on the African continent? Is it the Africans? Is it the Western governments? Every time the Western governments come to Africa, they find allies. They find the Africans who are willing and very ready to collaborate on destroying Africa. So what do they want in the Congo? There is nothing special about the Congo apart from the minerals, the richest country in mineral resources. If there were no minerals, we wouldn't see what we are seeing now in the Congo. The war in Congo has been there for a long time, since the early 90s. You cannot tell me that the world doesn't know. The world definitely knows. And the Congo is one country where every Western country is. You will not find there the Americas only. France is there. Britain is there. All the other countries in the West are there. And recently, they discovered, there's a place in Congo where they discovered minerals, like in large quantities. And when that happens, you just expect there's going to be a war in that area. So what the governments in the West do is they use the governments in Africa to keep destabilizing the countries. And you have these leaders, the opposition, the ruling. We want to have a new leader. We want to have the opposition. But all these politics are playing into the trick that the Western countries have set. So that what they do is you keep fighting over leadership. You want a new president, you're fighting against a dictator, and they are actually giving you arms. They are giving you money to do wars. They're not giving you money for education or any other good things. They will empower you to keep fighting against each other while they plunder the nation of all the minerals that are there. So this is what it is. For me, it is not new. It is not even surprising, because I know if my country had such minerals, we would be in war. But the bottom line, I think, is to remember that we discuss these things. We talk about these things all the time. We tell the people this is happening and this is bad, these events are going on, but we lose sight of discussing the solutions. What exactly are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to approach this? And how do we win? How do we take the right steps that have the African perspective? So for me, I would like to tell everyone who is viewing that the Congo situation is so bad. Everyone should be concerned. Everyone should raise their voices. But it's not anything special from what is happening everywhere. And wherever you see military bases, you just know these people take these bases to these places for a reason. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sister Brenda. Very concerning indeed what's going on in the Congo, and lots of comments in the chat as well, you know, mainly expressing concern as well about increased militarization on the continent. And this is, you know, I mean, I'm old enough to remember the days of civil wars on the continent and, wow, what they called Cold Wars. And we have been enjoying, you know, the last 30 years or so of relative peace. But when I was seeing these Africa-Russia summits, China-Africa summits, US-Africa summits, UK-Africa summits, France-Africa summits and the like, and they were signing agreements at these summits. And on the occasions when it was revealed what these agreements were about, these African countries were buying arms. They were buying, you know, aircraft, bombers, and all sorts. And it's like, why are they buying all of these war machines at the cost of billions during peacetime? Let me ask everyone to put their phone on mute unless they are talking. And let me, so Brenda and Kwame, please put your device on mute, and let's bring in Brother Jammers, who's going to be talking about menticide, because we need to consider what's going on in the mind of our people.
Yeah, greetings. Well, basically, it's true. What everybody's touched on is the solutions. We need to, you know, we can see what is happening, but we can be experts in what's happening. But if we don't work towards a solution, we're just going to be stuck in the same position and perpetuate what's happening. So yeah, the key element is we're at actually war with each other. You know, we're at war with each other, and they are utilizing this. We've lost our sense of spirituality, you know, and we've adopted the practices that they do, and we've fallen from our mindset, our original mindset, which is a family mindset now, and we've adopted the principles that have been that they've taken us away from our ability to use the natural resources that we live in. You know, our natural resources is our survival instinct, is what sustains us as a family, and we've adopted the thought processes that they've given to us, which doesn't manifest anything into physical. All the thought, that the religious thought processes, the social thought processes. So we're lost in a thought process. We're losing our electromagnetic energy in a thought process of a belief system. We're not farming anymore, and then we're using our electromagnetic energy on waste products. So basically, we buy the things that other people have created, and then we fight over belief systems that other people have given us to think about. And then the third aspect is that then we express ourselves in like sports or music. So we don't actually develop the things that we need to, like the farming, the land. This is what we need as a people. We need from the young stars. We need to have this concept of what is real family living. You know, this is what we need. And other communities, war is a natural thing. You know, we need to know war strategies. If you look at the Chinese, they have martial arts from they're young. Their philosophy is all about war. We've adopted entertainment as a means of expressing and entertaining ourselves. We need to have a war mentality, and we need to have a mentality, and this is from down all the way up to sustain us as a family. We need to have war strategies. We need to have to conduct ourselves, and we have to out the leaders. These leaders here, they're actually enemies of the people. You know, it's not by the color of the skin, it's by the actions that they pertain. And this is the problem that we're in. We're actually in war with each other, and other people are taking advantage of that.
Absolutely agree with you on that, brother Jammers. We need war strategies indeed. You know, I said in one of my earlier shows, if I was president, every single young person would have to go through at least 2 years military training, and, you know, would have to contribute towards the development of the infrastructure under the guidance of the older army personnel. You know, we need to also train up our young people, every single one of them, you know, in how to respond in emergencies, you know, in the event of, like, for example, what we're seeing happening in St. Vincent right now, how to respond in an emergency. You know, we rely too much on the Eurocentric education, which doesn't really prepare us for the real world. Let me go over to Dr. Abu for some ideas and suggestions about maybe what he feels, you know, these misleaders ought to be doing in their country to prepare our young people for, you know, the inevitable. You know, how are we going to maintain peace in our countries? Dr. Abu, over to you. You're on mute, Dr. Abu. Please take yourself off mute.
Yeah. Turn around www. Turn it upside down, and what you get? MMM. The mercenary, the military, and the monetary. You understand? And they all go with thoughts. It's the most dangerous thing that can happen to us when we don't have our own thoughts. You understand? If you listen to these people when they were killing us, they said, I thought my life was in danger. I thought it was my apartment. I thought it was. You see, you have to see what's in place in people. Today we're arguing with one another with white people narrative. You understand? Our own thoughts is our most precious weapon. But when we don't have that weapon, we open up to everything. You know what I'm saying? The thoughts today of Africans have to be of African. We can't think like an Arab or think like say we there Rome. Some of us in Africa, we have more legion to Rome than our own place in Africa. You understand? And that is what's causing the problem. And we know deep down that we're taking a placebo. We're praying to a God that not even save us. And we still do it every day. You know, a place like Africa, where civilization begin. We are here following what they call the alternative things them that the European gives. Imagine, we have natural things and we turn to alternative, and we're gonna sit wondering why we're going through this situation. We are going it because we turn away from ourselves. We stop paying attention to ourselves. You understand? They said consciousness is awareness. What you pay attention to is what you become conscious of. Some of us not even conscious of our own self, much less the situation that we're in. And if we don't come together, that's why I said we got to invest in our young people. We got to invest in that power, because it's a power that's there, you know, and they divert us, make we think that something wrong with the young people. But nothing wrong with the young people. The old one is the problem, because it's a long time then about and then do nothing about it. You understand? And some of us are pretending like we are not young. We wasn't young ourselves. And that's the most terriblest thing, that when we can live in a state of denial. You understand? We got to invest in the young people, and we got to take back our own thoughts. We can't sit down there and say, Holy Mary, and not expect them to drive up a hole in our backside and we family them also. because this is their narrative. And the full time we get real. Voodoo.
Voodoo, rise up, Dr. Abu. You know, we've got so much that we need to do, absolutely. And, you know, I'm reading reports that are talking about increase in security operations, CIA type operations happening on the ground in Africa. We have situations where apparently even the AU, you know, their peace and security councils are expressing ongoing concerns about the proliferation of foreign military bases on the continent. They're also concerned about their inability to be able to monitor the movements of weapons and, you know, to be able to monitor what's happening on these military bases. We had an incident a couple of strongs ago, didn't we, where there was a huge explosion in Kenya, destroyed 10,000 acres of pristine farmland, animals, you know, wiped off the face of the earth as a result of that. Lots of elephants and other animals died. You know, we don't even know what the cause of that explosion was. But the size and the scale and the force of that explosion is something that could have, for example, detonated that volcano in St. Vincent. Was that not the works of some sort of explosion? And so there's a lot of secret intelligence operations that's happening, a lot of movement of weapons that's falling into the wrong hands, that's increasing so-called militia group activity on the ground, displacing men, women, and children. We're getting incidences, you know, where villages, citizens, you know, ordinary people who are not involved in war, but are victims of war. Let me bring in Brother Kwame Gonza again, and we'll go around the panel to give some comments about the increase in military presence and any concerns that they may have, especially about the foreign powers that have got military presence in Africa. I mean, what presence does Africa have in any on the continent?
I think Sister Shanice is breaking. Thank you very much, Sister Shanice. The problems, I think, like Brenda said, we know is a continuation of from slavery to colonialism. Now we are in neocolonialism. So wherever, let no youth, all the young people, all I can say is that we have to first recognize that we should not be mistaken or lied to, that where there is a military base in Africa, any foreign military base, it is there to protect anyone or any of the Africans. It is not there to do that. It is like saying that the missionaries, when they were coming, they were not bringing colonialism. It's like saying the missionaries, when they were coming to Africa, they were bringing salvation. They were bringing civilization. They were not bringing civilization. You know, the British, when they came to Africa, they were not bringing civilization. The Europeans, when they were coming to Africa, they were not bringing civilization. They were coming to colonize, they were coming to enslave, but they came like missionaries. They came like people who are bringing civilization. So this is the same scenario that is playing out today, that they are coming with military bases in Uganda, in Kenya, in South Africa, in Ghana, you know, in Eritrea, in, you know, Djibouti. Yeah, it is Djibouti actually. It is that military base, the biggest military base, United States military base is in Djibouti, Camp Lamua, and then the same place where there's the Chinese military base up there. So these military bases where they are in Niger, we have the French. Actually, the French in January killed, their military killed about 19 people in Niger. It is in Niger, either Niger or Mali. The French military has over 5,000 troops there in Niger. So they killed the 19 people and they denied that they did not kill, you know, the people. So all these, they are for the domination of Africa and they are for the stealing of resources. So the youth of Africa and all African people around the world that are people of African descent, they have to understand that is the first step. We have to understand that these people are not here because they love us. These people are here to dominate us. These people are here to kill us. Okay? These people are not here because they love us and they want to protect us. The people are here to kill us. Now, who is bringing them? Then we should know the people who are bringing them. It is the leadership which we have on the continent. These leaders, once we recognize that, then we have to agree that these people have to go with their people. They have to go with the people who are bringing them. They have to go with their neo-colonialists who are bringing them. Because these guys are bringing problems on the continent. They are bringing problems for us on the continent. These guys, they want resources. They want to suck resources out of Africa. And we have seen this on and on and on. Like I said when I was beginning, there's a reset. They are trying to reset their colonialism. They are trying to reset their methods of domination. They are trying to reset their neo-colonialism and domination on the African continent. Because they have seen China has been helping Africa in some way to develop. Because of the, the infrastructure that has been for the last 30 years from using Chinese money and loans, Africa has been able to get some reasonable development. Like I said, around 10 of the fastest growing economies in Africa right now, they are in, the fastest growing economies in the world are in Africa. So it is because of those investments. Now, because the Chinese are also competing now on the resources, so these guys are seeing this as a threat. And the other thing, they always want to slow down. They don't want Africa to have the good things. You can see that, you remember very well that when telephones came, when mobile phones came, in the West, mobile phones were all over. In the United States, in Europe, Africa did not have mobile phones until when the Chinese came and they started manufacturing, and then they flooded the African continent. That is when communication came up. So they don't want us to have this technology. So we as the African people, especially, I want to appeal to especially the African youth, that we have to take the responsibility. This responsibility is not going to fall on the older people, because the older people, their time is limited compared to us. We also will grow old and will get away, but we have to always appeal to the younger generation, because these are the people who have the energy to fight on, to change, to change the conditions. There is nowhere where it has been the old people who are fighting. We use the wisdom of the old people, but the young people with their energy are the ones who are supposed to always be on the forefront, on the battlefield up there. On the front with the gun, whether it is the guns fighting, whether it is the resistance, it has to be the young people. We can see this all over. We can see Malcolm X, these were young people. We can see the Black Panthers, Huey Newton, these were young people. We can see Martin Luther King Jr., these were young people. By the time they signed the civil rights movement, the civil rights bill in the United States, Martin Luther King was around 29 years. We can see Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, when he became prime minister in Ghana, was around 46. So the young people have to be instrumental. We can see Lumumba, Patrice Lumumba, by the time he died, he was in his early 30s. So the young people have to be on the forefront. That is the first thing. We all have to be on the forefront. We cannot abandon our responsibility on this continent. We cannot, put our hands down. For the future of the continent is in our hands. And we have to think, we have to stand on our legs and start thinking, what are we going to do? We have to put ourselves under pressure to solve the problems on the continent. We cannot leave the continent in the hands of the elder people who are going away, and especially the ones who are old and they are sitting in power and they are destroying the continent, and they are bringing people, the colonizers, to come and dominate the continent, and they are taking away our resources. They are dominating the whole continent, extracting and punching holes in our grounds on the continent. So we cannot leave that to chance. So if it is agitation, we have to start. So it is good that people like Sister Shanice have already started. Once we start these conversations, this is the start for us. This is a very good point for us. So we use these platforms, whether it is social media, whether it is what, we call out these ills. And then we say the right thing, which we want. We want to see a united Africa. This is what we want. We want to see a united Africa. We don't want a fragmented Africa again. because a fragmented Africa is easier to dominate, We should not identify ourselves as Ugandans, as Kenyans, as South Africans, as Tanzanians, as Ghanaians, as Nigerians, as Moroccans or as Egyptians, but we should identify ourselves as Africans. This is one of the first steps for us to defeat the neo-colonialists and the imperialists. Because as they always say, as Brother Franklin Jones always says, the narrative is very important. When they come here, they try to convince us so much how we are Ugandans, how we are Kenyans. And people are holding on so much on these things that they are Kenyans. But we are Africans. We are Africans. And if we are Africans, then you have to take responsibility. If you are in Kenya, you have to know that I'm an African and the resources in Congo is my responsibility. If there's a war there, I have to speak about it. If the people are dying in Niger or in Mali and France is there, is destroying the people, is killing them. France is there, is occupying in Gabon. The people are dying in Cameroon. France is there with troops. We have to call out to these ills and we say, France has to stop being in Africa. France has to get out of Africa. The United States has to get out of Africa. It has to remove its military bases. The UK, the Europeans, they should remove their military bases from Africa. These are the first steps for us. And then we can go to the next steps of starting to agitate. We have to start agitating. We cannot just sit down. So if it is demonstrations, we have to start going to the front. We demonstrate to the parliaments. We go to the ministries of foreign affairs. We resist if we are moving on the continent. We resist the visa issues. We cannot accept to be asking for visas. Why should you ask me for a visa if I'm moving from Uganda going to Tanzania? Why do you ask me for a visa if I'm moving from Uganda going to Gabon or Cameroon or Angola? So if I'm moving from Ghana to Nigeria, from Ghana to Kenya, why should you ask me for a visa? Or I'm moving from Ghana to Senegal, Ghana to South Africa. We should resist. We resist these kind of things. So once we start this process, we are consistent. If we go on consistently over 10 years, we will change this continent within a generation. In less than half of a generation, we can change this continent. This is how our forefathers did it. This is how people like Kwame Nkrumah did it. You see, they started the movement and they were consistent. So join the nearby Pan-African organization, which is close to you. Any Pan-African organization, contribute to it. Monetarily, there is a lot of ways to contribute. Morally, financially, you can contribute. So there's a lot of things which we can do to change this continent within less than a generation. There's a lot of things going on. Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute, Rapid Africa Plan. These are all organizations which are out there working. Pan-African Congress in South Africa. These are organizations which are out there working. So we support the Pan-African causes morally and and financially, and we move forward. Thank you very much, Sister Shanice.
Thank you so much, Brother Kwame. And let me go straight over back to Brother Jammers, then Sister Brenda, then Dr. Abu. Brother Jammers, what say you? A lot of development militarily on the continent. Now, let me look at this military mapping, and apparently the US has officially 7,000 military personnel on rotational deployment in Africa. And these supposedly in partnership with African military African armies. Who's training these jihadist groups? Who's arming these jihadist groups? How is it, that the US anyway knows so much about these jihadist groups? They're strategically located, etc., etc. They're these military outpost activities on the continent. They're in Burkina Faso, Democratic Republic of the Congo, all the places where there is war, where there are arms, where there is armed activity, there is war. Brother Jammers, we've got to get ourselves out of this cycle. We forward as a people. as Brother Kwame was saying, remove all of these military posts from out of Africa. What say you, my brother Jammers?
Yeah, well, I'd like to thank Kwame for that breakdown. Basically, the first thing we've got to do, we've got to stop looking at what other people are doing. We're so occupied in what other people are doing that we're not uniting together, having a constructive, as Brother Kwame is saying, a resistance. You know, we're just like a person whose house is on fire, and we're analyzing the flames, and we can work out who put the flames on there, and then we're imagining what it will be like not to be in the house. We got to start putting the flames out. You know, we've got to start, as Kwame said as well, stop looking, dividing ourselves by places and beliefs. You know, we're fighting against thought processes, each other's thought processes. We're in numbers and in resources. You know, we outnumber them. You know, if you look at the numbers in Africa, you look at the manpower that we have. You even look at the finances that we have together. If we start to look at each other as family and put our resources together, then we can have a battle plan and a strategy. You know, but as Dr. Abu said, you know, we're lost in thought process of somebody else. And inside the word thought is the word fought. Thought is how you're thinking, how you're going to fight somebody, not thought as in aimless thought. Every time these people think, they're thinking about accessing our land and our resources. Every essence of their energy is to acquire our property, our raw material. You know, where our aimless thoughts about what other people are doing, we need to, you know, we haven't got no more time to read our books or think about what happened in 2000 or something BC. You know, we have to stop being separated by our land, by our locations, you know, by our beliefs, and start to unite as a people and put our resources together and have our own battle strategies. You know, that's the first aspect.
Indeed. You're going to move on to the second, my brother, or you leaving it there for now?
Well, there's a what's happening when you really check the condition, even over here in the dashboard, the position. We're really like, when you check it, we're really like under hypnosis. You know, the way that we're moving. You know, it's like we're spellbound. We're open to auto suggestion. As soon as the way they've indoctrinated us with their education system is that they've trained us in a way that when they say a word, we just actually, just like a dog has been trained, we actually do what the word has been said without having to question it, without querying it, without having any resistance. So we've taken on these people's words that we're in a state of auto-suggestion. They will say something and we will just do it. This is the educational system, how it's indoctrinated us, that we don't question anything that they put into us. And as I said earlier, that we're lost in illusions. We're lost in illusions. We're lost in games. You know, our families are, we don't care about our children. Other people care more about us than we do ourselves. We don't educate our children. We don't provide a medical service for us. We are willing to let somebody other than ourselves take our children, you know, put their medical devices on us, home us. We don't even make our own toilet paper, our own shoes, but we're talking about pyramids. You know, we've got to get real and start to do practical things that we help each other's families so we can grow together. The time is lost now to be thinking on ideologies. The time is now for action and to do practical, active behavior. You know, we're running around playing sports for them, playing football for them, singing and dancing for them, while they're destroying our families, they're destroying our future. You know, so we have to break this hypnotic spell that we're on, and this daydream. It's like we're in love. We're like a person in love fantasizes how the future should be, you know, and fantasizes how something, how they want things to do. But when the reality hits, they run away. You know, so we're lost in an idealistic concept of perfection as well. So hard work is to acquire anything, you have to put hard work into it. You have to go through trauma, you have to go through stress. We're going through trauma and stress anyway, being subjected to somebody other than ourselves. We need to go to trauma and stress to fix our own problems for ourselves.
Rise up, brother Jammers. Yeah, my system's freezing in and out. Someone suggested I go up to 10G. I am already paying twice the amount that I'd normally pay in the UKKK for internet, and still it's just not good enough. I'll see what I can do to go up to an even higher level. Let's bring in Sister Brenda. Come in, please, Sister Brenda.
Thank you so much.
Over 7,000 military personnel on the ground.
Okay, thank you so much once
From the
again.
US. Come in, please, Sister Brenda.
Yes, this is what they tell the people of Africa. The governments tell the people that these military bases are here to strengthen our security. But fast forward, we would like to say that we really don't need that much security because we are not at war. So the reason why they bring in these military bases is for their benefit, not our benefit. If we would think about groups like the Al-Qaeda, the Al-Shabaab, when you watch what happens with those groups, you see that these are groups which are very well funded with cars, with guns, with bombs. They have it all. So when people start speculating and saying there are terrorist groups or there are some rebel groups, people lose sight of the fact that these groups are actually funded by the people who have the money. They are powered with ammunition by the people who make the ammunition. The gun was created for a reason. They don't give you the gun to play around with it like it's a toy. The gun is given to you so that you can kill. So what the military bases are here for is to destroy. Africa was conquered by a book, just a book, a Bible. But right now, if you see them here with military bases and guns and everything, they are here to finish us off the earth. So what happened recently in Kenya should raise an alarm, because we see a fire breakout in a nature conservation place. And then we are also told that these very people, when they arrived, they came with a new strain of the virus. Everyone knows that when the coronavirus was ravaging these people, like ravaging the places where they live and killing the people, they expected it to come to Africa and destroy us, and it didn't. So what you see is these people are coming in these military bases for very many reasons. They have the guns, but they also have the diseases. They have the strains of the virus. So before you know it, you'll be having a new kind of disease. And I would like to also remind the people that this is the very way how the HIV/AIDS came to Africa, in the same way how the smallpox came here, in the same way how polio came here, through the vaccines. But these vaccines are actually administered by the military. So people need to wake up. I'm going to agree with the previous speakers. We need to actually rise up against these ills, against these threats. We are threatened too much. But I would also like to say that the only challenge we are having is our leaders, but that's not so much of a challenge, because if we could have the leaders with the right mindset, we wouldn't be complaining. So the only challenge we are having is our people haven't gotten a chance and haven't reached a point where they are fed, taught, raised, groomed, and trained by ourselves. We have let our children to be raised by everyone but ourselves. The education they get is from the curriculum designed by everyone but ourselves. Everything we've given up. We have given up everything to the system to raise our children. You shouldn't expect that a person raised a child for you and that child is coming to you to serve your interest. He doesn't even know you. He doesn't understand where you're coming from. He doesn't understand your struggle. He doesn't know your background. How is he supposed to understand the things you need? How is he supposed to fight for your interests? So our first step is to make sure we change the mindset of the youth. These youth are not going to rise up if they have that mindset that does not belong to us. If we can have leaders like the late Pombe Magufuli, we would win. We would win in every way. But this is what happens. Every time we have a leader like that, he is not supported. He doesn't get security from us. He's actually isolated. He doesn't have the backup, the plans, the support from the people. He doesn't have the mind. His mind is not the same as the people he is leading. And this is what happened in the past with the late Thomas Sankara. This is a great leader with great ideas. The ideas that have changed the country in just 4 years. But this leader is moving alone. He's standing alone. And this is the only reason he's standing alone. He has not seen the importance of changing the mindset of the rest of the people, because these other people are the ones who should push the idea forward. We should be having a team that should always ask, how did this person die? How was he killed? Who is responsible for the killing? And why should we wait very many years? Recently, we had the president of, the former president of Burkina Faso, and they are coming out and telling us, finally, we know he's the one who killed. We cannot be allowing this. We cannot be allowing to have justice after 34 years. If this person killed and people knew he killed, it should not have taken more than a year. That is how we will lead. That is how we will teach the young ones to know that everything you do has got repercussions. So if these things are happening this way and someone knows I'm going to kill a president, and after 34 years, that's when they will discover I will probably be dead by then, we haven't reached the point of winning. We need to take the right steps. Personally, I am embarking on educating the young people with the right ideas, right mind, the right education, because I know for a fact that that's the way. That's the way I will know. I will stand somewhere and speak to the people about Africa, and we'll be on the same page. We'll be understanding things on the same level. But right now, you have these great panelists. They have great ideas, but they could be standing alone. They could be lonely in a world that's very unjust and unfair. So these military bases are on the African continent. We don't probably know what will happen the next day. Maybe we'll wake up and they have taken over the governments, and the governments are really signing deals with the military bases because there is money involved. And we shouldn't even be surprised, because these governments don't belong to us. We call them African governments, but they are actually colonial governments. The very leaders who were left with us here to run the colonies that were created, because these very colonies are standing on the background of all the agreements and the pacts that were signed, and nothing has ever changed. Every agreement that was signed is still being respected. So whatever government we have, whatever leader we have, isn't our own, because the system isn't our own, it's their system. So we have a big job to change the system. How shall we change the system if we don't change our mindset? If our mindset is still in the same line with the system, how are we supposed to change the system? How are we supposed to stand up and ask the government that we don't want to be getting visas to go to the next country? The government doesn't understand that. The government thinks that's the way because the system was designed that way. So I think everyone by now knows that we have a very big job to do. We have got work to do, and it all goes back to what is in the mind of the people. That's how we shall win. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sister Brenda. Comments the chat there saying we have leadership quality here in you, my sis, and that is most definitely the case. Okay, we are, wow, time is fast approaching. We've got 20 minutes left discussion here, and I just wanted to raise the situation in Mozambique. A couple of strongs ago, I think most of us would have seen the headlines about the violent escalation of so-called, insurgents and militia group activity taking place in the northern part of Mozambique. And apparently there were over 100 well-armed, as our sister was saying, we don't make the arms. Someone's arming all of these militia groups with state-of-the-art technology, and I'm sure if we were to look at some of the weaponry that they're using, it would either have been made by the Russians or the Americans or the British. We need to be carrying out these investigations. Who's arming these so-called rebel armies? Who is financing them and training them to go and attack, innocent villages and that? Well, there was over 100 armed so-called rebels who attacked Palma on the 24th of March. They held over half of the center for about 10 days. Now, they're saying that it's an Islamic State linked militias. They come up with, this scenario, almost theatrical, and who are supposedly responsible for all of these killings. They were killed dozens of innocent, thousands of people had to flee their residences, and it's in the area where all the oil refineries are as well in that region. Let me bring in Dr. Abu on this.
Family.
I might have frozen. Have I frozen, Abu? Have you frozen? If you're still there?
No.
Or have I frozen?
So no, you're right there. Africa need to take a lesson from the 80 revolution. And remember what them say. You got to throw away the image, blood. You got to throw away the image of the oppressor. You understand? Because we keep on to talk about Magafuli and all of these things. You can have a good transport, but if you put the wrong fuel in it, you will damage it. And lot of our good leaders have Catholicism, Islamicism, and it's bad blood. And it's because invader business them the blood. And we must be honest with ourselves. We have to be honest with ourselves. How can we as African people been conquered by European cultural aggression, one Christianity and democracy, and still want to use it to free ourselves? Mad rotted old people. And Africa will suffer. Africa will forever suffer if it doesn't throw away these kidnapper tools. We must stop fooling ourselves. And I run around and I glorify and I said, oh, he was a good man. He was a good man, but he make mistake, blood. Mugabe was a good man, but they make mistake because they run with this bloody Catholicism and all of them thing there and damage themselves and them people. We have to wake up and realize we can't use none of that. We can't use none of that. We can't use these religious things that make woman look like a second-class citizen. And then say, you understand? We can't pray to God because God send more disease than any other entity on this earth. We have to go back to our own orishas. We have to turn to our own Oludumare, our own African principle. That is where our weaponry lie. Our weapon come from our thoughts, and we're not thinking like African. We are thinking like European. So we'll forever get these things. So I want to be around young people where we can shape their young mind. Because I'm telling you, a lot of the old one them, Them stuck in them weird blood. And the truth, me I tell you, we have to be real. We have to be honest with ourselves and stop play games. Voodoo.
Voodoo, rise up, Dr. Abu. We have to be true to ourselves indeed and adopt the Haiti position. And I think that's something that we need to maybe bring on the platform and share, or just advise everybody really to go and read up on the Haiti Revolution and how they managed to win their war against some of the most powerful armies during that time. And, you know, time is running fast. Let me ask everybody to stay with us as well after this show. When you log out, log back in again. We're coming back at 10 a.m. GMT time with Leader Bandaka. And we're going to be looking at some of the assassinations that have been happening. We're going to be looking at our revolutionary leaders. You know, those great leaders of ours who actually came, you know, with a heart for the people. And, you know, as has already been said on this platform by Sister Brenda, you know, why is it that we're not investigating the deaths of our leaders? Why are we having to wait, you know, 20, 30 years until, you know, the information has been declassified before we find out who actually killed our leaders? We need to be carrying out those investigations. And there's so much that we can learn from history. And so, you know, the conversation that we're going to be having with Leader Bandaka, who is so well versed in these issues, you know, is going to be teaching us some of those histories. Okay, because of time, let me whiz over now to Brother Kwame Gonza, who I'll give 5 minutes to and 5 minutes to each of our panel members before we end. Brother Kwame, we just talked about the US military. We've got, in addition to the US, there's the French military. They've got over 7,500 military personnel. You know, there's 2,000 American soldiers who are involved in training missions in 40 African countries, so-called special forces operating in East. You know, the Chinese are there as well. They've got military operations there, all supposedly representing their interests. Who's representing our interests?
God.
Brother Kwame.
Yes, the interest. I think Africa's interests cannot be represented until Africa is united politically. So whether it is militarily, whether it is economically and industrially, all things, they will not be represented anywhere. So that is why you see that the African Americans are suffering. All our people who are Africans around the world, wherever we go, we are not represented. I mean, look at the United Nations. When the African presidents are speaking at the United Nations, you know, the United Nations, you know, the room is empty. Okay, so we are not represented, we are not respected. So Africa's interests and its people will not be represented anywhere until Africa is united politically. And this is a call which Dr. Kwame Nkrumah made repeatedly. He made this call because he saw the problems. Now, when the CIA came to do a psychological analysis of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, they said that he was ahead of the people he was leading, 50 years ahead of the people he was leading. This is what they did the psychology. But what did he tell us? He told us that if we do not unite, this is going to happen. So the weaknesses, all of them which we are seeing today, he predicted them. The wars, the destabilization, he predicted all these things. The wars will break out, we will fight against each other. So all these things are signs of weaknesses inside the continent. So until we have harnessed the continent and taken it on all together to build it together, because our continent is not like an island like Singapore, whereby you can isolate Rwanda and build it and say you will develop Rwanda to a first developed country, and then you have a sea of poor countries surrounding it. You have Uganda is poor, you have Congo is poor, and then you have Rwanda as a first world country. It is not possible. You can't have Ghana as a first world country, and then you have Togo, Burkina Faso, all these countries surrounding Ghana, they are third world countries. It is not possible. So if we are going to harness the continent, we have to harness it in its entirety. So that brings me to what is happening in Mozambique. And so that war, the war in Mozambique, we are experiencing, the aftermath of Libya, because we neglected what was happening in Libya. So now these are the results. So now the more we neglect this war in Mozambique, the more things will escalate. Now, what I suspect actually about the war in Mozambique, there are two things there. Mozambique discovered a lot of gas. You see, a lot of natural gas. And today, because of everyone wanting to produce gas, we have a share in the United States, because the United States wants to become, recently, it is fighting to become a net exporter of natural gas. So Mozambique discovered a lot of natural gas. So there is a need to destabilize Mozambique, to stop it either from producing that gas and put it on the market and get money, or to destabilize Mozambique and then let Total, because Total and Talo, they are some of the companies which are there developing that natural gas, and come and take this gas cheaply or for free, because the government will be distracted. It is concentrating on fighting the rebels. These guys will be taking the resources. Number two, there has been a deliberate
exactly same pattern.
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
so
it's the
sorry,
same
Brother Kwanzaa, but because of time, we're going to have to leave it there. But we will be returning to this topic. I think we have to return to it. You've got so much more to contribute. My apologies for having to cut you. I've got to try and quickly run around the panel before the end of the show. Let's bring in Brother Jammers. A couple of minutes for you, my Brother Jammers.
I'd like to thank the panel for the contributions, and we need to have further discussions in relation to becoming a power structure, getting our young stars, because all revolutions are started by the young. The young have the power to start revolutions. It's not won by I saw someone in the chat said I'm being too emotive generalizations, but we need emotional generals, to take the intellectual brain and put it into action. The problem is we've been too intellectual and not applying action. And with what Brenda says, we have to change the mindset. Security means you come to see and cure the writ that somebody's tied to. So when someone's giving you security, they want to separate you from the ties that you have with your natural continent. When someone comes in to make peace, they want a piece of what you got, and they leave you in pieces. So when someone strikes a deal, inside the word deal is the word lead. So someone comes in to give you a deal to lead you. So every time these people open their mouth, it's an anti-African statement. This is why we have to break away from the words and the sounds and the textbooks, and we have to become the authority. We can't allow somebody else to dictate to us. I mean, look what happened when with George Floyd. He killed one of us, but we haven't got the authority to bring him to justice in our community. We've got to wait for them to give us justice. If we done something to them, they will take that person out of our community and give the decision. So we have to create the sound unity for our young stars to be able to come leaders to take us out of this situation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Jammers, as always, dropping the gems on us here on the panel. Sister Brenda, it's been a privilege as well having you here this evening. Please let me give you a couple of minutes to, land. Give us some concluding remarks.
Thank you so much. It's been a privilege for me also to be a part of this wonderful panel tonight. I thank everyone and everyone who is participating in the chat. I will only remark that the scramble and partition happened long ago, and it was the only event that could show Africans that the West is really united. When it comes to destroying Africa, they are united. Every Western country needed a piece of Africa, and every one of those got something from here. So what they are doing right now is the continuation of the scramble. That's why you're talking about the very many military bases on the African soil, because they are still sticking and holding on to that part of history. They still need to have power over Africa, they need to continue this so that they can keep winning. So I'm only going to tell the people that it's time for us to rise up. As I said before, we have to fight. We have to fight with everything we got because we cannot afford to lose the second time. I thank everyone. I hope, and I would like to be back anytime you would like, Sister Shanice, and peace.
Peace and love, sis. It would be an honor and a privilege to have you back. I certainly will be inviting you back again. I think we need to continue this really important conversation that we started, and we need to hear more from you, my sis, about what's happening on the ground on the continent. Dr. Abu.
Vodum family, and rise up to Sister Brenda and Brother Kwame, Jamaz, and to all the people inside the Facebook. You know, I ain't gonna apologize for what I said. What I'm saying that colonialism is the most deadliest virus. A lot of us African are hooked on white values. We love what they have because we think so what they have is good, but what they have is terrible bad. You understand? That's why today we want little Michael come back as Michelle. It's a little alternative lifestyle because we lost ourselves higher. We lost ourselves. And we want to join these little Batman club. European, that's what there is. We are African people. And we must be honest with ourselves. You understand? And come out of these alternative lifestyle, you know, see, serious thing. Because many of it is what kill us. It's what killing us. We think like them and we dead like them. You know, see how we are rob one another like European. We are asleep with the brother wife. Same like how Europeans sleep with their brother wife and sleep with their whole thing. So a full time we wake up and start to think like African people and stop think like Europeans. Vodum.
Vodum, Dr. Abu. And, you know, I want to thank all the panel. I want to thank everybody in the chat for their comments. You know, you've been making some invaluable contributions in the chat as well. This one here is saying we should resist making the West more powerful than what it really is, and that, you know, we are in control, and it's to remember that we are in control as a people, and we need to rise up and exercise that power. Even the conversations that we have, it's just so powerful because it all goes towards shaping our minds and our mindset. I want to thank all the panel members, Brother Kwame, Dr. Abu, Brother Jammers, Sister Brenda. Thank you so much for being on the panel this evening. You know, I look forward to having you back again to continue this really important conversation. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Please do join me again right now as we go over in a couple of minutes' time for another session, which is going to delve deep into the history to see how it is we are where we are now, and to see what we can learn from our history with Brother Leader Bandaka. You know, wow. We cannot afford to make the same mistakes that we made in the past. This is a new day, and this generation has got to, you know, get the knowledge from us about where we went wrong in the past, so we don't make the same mistakes again in the future. Rise up, panel. Mentaside, what's that? Psychic USA. Rise up, family. More love, more power, more Vodum. Sister Shanice out of here for now, and the panel. Thank you, viewers. Join us. Click back into the Sister Shanice show, this time with Leader Bandaka. One love, family.
One love.
Respect, Abu. Respect. Yeah, wise words, man. Respect every time. Yeah. Keep it going. Yeah. We need you. Respect.
Thank you.